tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Okay. Some background. I was brought up, raised in New Hampshire, which accounts for my New England accent. And after I graduated from high school, I moved into Boston and was with John Robert Powers models. And I did photographic and fashion for them. They sent me to all throughout the United States working for a New York clothing firm. When I returned from that, I became Miss New Hampshire for the Miss Universe pageant out in Long Beach, California. When I returned from California, I modeled again in Boston and then got married. I had 5 children in 4 years, and I was divorced a few years after that. I opened up my own model agency in order to support my kids, and I wouldn't have to leave the house. I could work by the telephone with that. And that lasted for 33 years. Then I bought a bunch of paints and brushes and started painting. And the galleries seemed to like those and bought them, so I turned the agency over to my daughter, who had been working for me for about 3 years in the agency. And I moved to Cape May, and here I am.
So, did you always want to be an artist?
I never really thought about it, actually. I don't know what possessed me to buy a bunch of paints and canvases and so forth, but I just did it. I always wanted to be a model, and that was my profession for many years.
Very cool. So, what inspires you?
Well, that's kind of tough because I really didn't know that I was going to pursue this. I think what inspires me now is, like, for Cape May, for instance, there are a lot of homes that are historical and landmark homes, but they need a little prettiness to them. And I kind of like making things pretty.
Okay.
I think that inspires me more than anything.
Okay. So do you have any rituals that help you work?
Yes. I guess I might be called a neatnik. I like to get everything organized before I start painting. I don't like to have to go looking for different colors once I've begun because I kind of am obsessive about that way. I like to just keep painting straight through as long as I'm comfortable with it.
What was your favorite project to do?
Well, I liked doing the book. I produce a calendar every year, and I enjoy that once it's kind of underway. And I like photography to get the photographs for my paintings.
So that brings us to the next question. Do you work with photographs?
Yes, and I work with my own. The reason for that, the first painting I ever did was of the Chinese tea house in Newport, Rhode Island. And I copied it from a postcard. But when I took it into the gallery, they said, we can't sell that because you copied someone else's copyrighted photograph. So then I began taking all my own.
Okay. And how do you know when a painting is complete?
Well, there are a couple of little tricks that you can do. Number one, when you're tired of it.
That's fair.
Number two, most importantly, if you stand and hold it up to a mirror, it will draw out all the flaws that are in it, or things that might be missing and so forth. I don't know what it is about a mirror that does that.
Wow, I didn't know.
And then when it looks right, then I just say, that's it, go on to something else.
It's incredible. Have you ever encountered creative block? And if so, how did you get through it?
I go on to something else. If I'm not motivated to do something, I'm not going to do a good job. And if it's a commission, it has to be done by a certain time. Then, of course, you have to go ahead and do it. But if it's just for my own enjoyment, I don't even attempt it.
If you could go back in time, what advice would you give to yourself before you started?
Not to buy everything in pearl paints. Pearl paints I don't think is in existence anymore, but it was a great art store. And I bought every single thing they had. I bought pastels, oils, watercolors. There wasn't anything I don't still have in my home.
So do you feel that your art has changed over time?
Not really, no. I think maybe I do a little more detail with outlining things with like a pencil or something like that to make them jump out a little bit more. And I use colored inks now in addition to the watercolors because they're more printable.
And last, where can your work be found?
Well, I have a website, patriciaraineystudios.com. My calendars and books are in almost all the stores in Cape May. The books are sold out, the calendars are still available. And I built a gallery onto the back of my home. So if people want to buy primarily originals, they can call me and come out and view them there.
Thanks for watching. If you want even more fantastic content, check out our Instagram, Pinterest, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube at CMC Library.